Welcome to our daily Forex market analysis call, and this is for trading on February the 9th, 2018. Just a quick disclaimer before we get started. This is for educational purposes only. Trading is a risky business, so please be careful with your money, especially with the volatility we are seeing in the markets these days right now. Craziness in the market today. So let's start off with our economic calendar as usual. So the most important thing that happened here was the British pound. We had Bank of England monetary policy. They also talked about the interest rate. So we were not expecting an interest rate hike at this point. And then this one here as well, nobody was really in favor of raising rates at this point. But the biggest thing that caused the pound to go up quite a bit was because of what the commentary was. So essentially, Bank of England said that they are going to take a look at raising rates potentially in later part of 2018. So they're looking at November 2018 as the first potential interest rate hike. So anytime a central bank says they're going to start raising rates or they're going to raise rates, that's usually a bullish thing for the currency, and that's why we saw the British pound shoot up like crazy on the back of those comments. And then later on, we had a complete reversal of that move, and that was because the Wall Street started to sell off. I think the Wall Street lost 1,000 points today. And as a result of that, we saw US dollar strengthen, and then we also saw Japanese yen strengthen. So normally when there's risk flight in the market, so people are kind of going out of risky assets, Japanese yen tends to strengthen because it's a safe haven currency. And usually when people sell off their risky assets, they also put money into the US dollar. And hence we saw that. So this was a perfect day to notice that correlation between different markets. So we saw a real good example of a correlation between Wall Street and our currencies market. So that's what happened when we saw the big sell-off. So hopefully some of you guys were able to catch that move. And I actually managed to do that. I just happened to be in front of my computer. Normally I'm sleeping at that time, so I don't get a chance to catch any of the moves in the New York session. But that was a really nice move that happened, and we'll take a look at it on the charts. But those were the two main things that came out. We do have RBA monetary policy statement coming out here. So Australia is not looking to do an interest rate hike at this moment. However, they may provide direction just like Bank of England did, and they may say that they will be looking at a potential rate hike sometime in 2018 or something like that. Any kind of commentary like that will be bullish. And if they talk about economy being strong or anything like that, that will also be considered hawkish, and it could push the Australian dollar up. So if they do the opposite of that, if they say that, oh, we are concerned about data, or we are concerned about the markets not holding up, or we're concerned about the world economics, that kind of stuff, that would be considered negative by the market. So that's what we'll be waiting for. That's coming up at 7:30 p.m. Eastern in about an hour, just over an hour. So that's today. Coming up on Friday, we have manufacturing production for British pound, and then we have employment numbers for Canada, but not a ton of other data. We do have trade balance, but that's it in terms of the major data. So today was a bigger day in terms of the data. So that's for our fundamentals. Let's move on to our charts here. So we'll start off by taking a look at our euro here. So euro had an interesting day. Yesterday, we were, based on this daily candle close, we were looking for a drop, and we did get a drop, but then we got a pullback as well. So the candle close here is very neutral. So we have pin on the top, pin in the bottom, and so that makes it a neutral candle close. So overall, though, the move is still to the downside. The bias is to the downside because we are still seeing all the red candles. So biases to the downside, the target would remain at 1.2160 level here in the bottom. So let's take a look at what we could, so today it was just up, down, sideways. Really not much to go on here. So going into Friday here, we could see a pullback all the way into this level here and then a drop. So R1 would be a potential level to look for a pullback, which is 1.2290 level. It could go higher into this 1.2220 level, which is or our R3, which is at the 30 level. So those will be the two levels that I would look for in terms of pullback. So right now we are just sideways. So there's really no clear signal overall, though, because the market has been dropping. It is biased to the downside. So there could be a potential for a short entry at R1, or if it clears to the other side, then we are looking for market to go to R2 because we have this inefficient move and we could see that filled. So the bias is neutral to bearish for euro dollar. Pound dollar, now here we have seen a big, we saw a big move to the upside based off of the hawkish comments from Bank of England. And then we saw that big sell-off and we saw this big drop as a result. So right now, the interesting thing about British pound is it failed to break the low here. So it hasn't been able to break the low. We do have this rejection, but we have a bullish close here as well and a failure to break down. What that means is that we could see the price go back into this level once again, 1.3992, so about 140 level, and even higher. It could go all the way to test this previous high. So right now I'm looking just based on this not closing or closing below the support. I'm looking for price to go up higher. The scenario, my base case scenario in this would be this one right here. Price goes into 1.3990, so 140 level, and then drops from there and comes back into this range. So for the last 3 days, we are just sideways because it didn't hold today's move to the upside. So this is where we are in terms of our daily. As we can see, price is just sideways and it failed to break the low here. So first, looking for price to go up into 1.39, so 1.40 level here, and then a potential drop from this level here. So we could get one of these moves, or if things get really, kind of in favor of risk again, then we could see a price go all the way to the top once again as well. But for now, first I'm looking for a move into the 140 level. So this one is bullish to neutral in terms of our bias. So we have to be careful because right now market is jittery and not so much the Forex market. The Wall Street is jittery right now, and the big sell-off that we saw was because of Wall Street jitters. So Wall Street sold off and Japanese yen was the beneficiary as a result of that. So for this one here, our daily candle close is very bearish. Now, do keep in mind we have Reserve Bank of Australia statement coming out, so monetary policy statement, and that could make a huge difference in this, just like we saw for Bank of England. It completely changed the direction of the market, and that's why we have to be very careful about that. So that's why we don't trade any of these news events. But in terms of the direction here, just purely based on technicals, this looks, this is a very strong bearish candle close. So I would look for something like this and then price to drop, and the target would be 77.35. This pin back here, and looking for this support and resistance to hold here. Of course, with the RBA, this could change completely, but that's what I'm looking for just based on the technicals. But do keep in mind, we have dropped a fair bit. And when the market drops for so many days, we do tend to see pullbacks and stuff. So we have to be vigilant for that, especially on Fridays. I find a lot of times markets do tend to turn on Fridays. So people taking profit and so forth, closing out their positions. So do keep that in mind. But for now, I'm looking for price to basically either go all the way into this level, because that's a nice support and resistance level. It could go into that level and then drop from there, or we're looking at this support on 78.14, and this is 78 approximately 50-ish level, so 40 level. So those are the two levels that I'm looking for price to pull back to and then drop from there based on the daily candle close here. The bias is to the downside. But again, with everything tomorrow, I would be just cautious. This one here, overall, the bias is to the downside, but we do have a pin in the bottom, which suggests that the price was trying to push up higher. This one looks weak to me, though. I'm looking for price to drop further. So in this case, the first target would be the bottom of this pin, 71.80 level, and then 71.40 level, the bottom of the next pin down here. So my bias is to the downside for New Zealand dollar. This is where we are. We had a big sell-off. That's a nice pivot point trade right here just the other day. And then now it's just sideways. So here we could see the price go into this level here, which is R1, and then drop from there. So this is a previous support and resistance level. It could go a little bit higher into the other day's pivot point here, which is 72.58 level, and then drop from there as well. So that's what I'm looking at. My bias is to the downside for New Zealand dollar and looking for it to go into the 71.40 level. Dollar CAD here, this one we have been seeing bullishness and another bullish candle close. Now we are getting closer and closer into our resistance. We are right into this previous resistance here. So based on the daily candle close here, I am looking for a further move to the upside. 1.2680 will be the next level to the upside. So that's quite a move to the upside. So this is what I was talking about. So we had a big move, pull back, and then moves. So here, price was getting compressed, which means it was moving down, but it wasn't moving down at any kind of a significant or with any kind of significant momentum. So just like this one, see how price is compressing? It's moving down, but it's kind of coiling, and then it gets released to the upside. Here, this was a nice, just a straight drop. And here we are seeing similar type of move to here, where it's just kind of going sideways, not doing much, and then we saw price move to the upside. So here we still have that momentum to the upside. It is decreasing, though candles are becoming smaller, but we still have momentum to the upside. So I'm looking for move into 126.80 area to the upside there. And this is where we are. So price hasn't really done much, a whole lot today. It just kind of went sideways in the last 3 days. It's gone up a bit, but it's not significant. So with this one, what we could see would be a pullback into this level here, which is our S1 level as well as previous support resistance level. And then we could see a move to the upside here, or we could just see price come back here and then move to the upside. So again, with all of these moves, we just have to be careful tomorrow, because we could see reversals, because we have seen multiple days of one-sided market, so things could turn. So keep that in mind. Euro Swiss franc. So we had a big drop here in Euro Swiss franc. Swiss franc is also a safe haven currency. So when Japanese yen starts to move kind of like crazy, then a Swiss franc tends to follow as well, because it is safe haven. So based on this daily candle close, that's bearish. So we had a bearish pin bar and we were looking for a drop, got that drop. Now that's very, very solid candle, and we have broken this support that price wasn't able to break previously. So now we are in the clear, looking for price to drop further. And in this case, we are looking at 1.1400. So bias will be to the downside, looking for a drop. And in terms of the pullback, the pivot point looks like a nice pullback level. It could go higher into 1.1520 level, but the pivot point is a nice, so we have resistance there, support turning into resistance here, and we could see the price go into this pivot point and then drop from here. So we could see something like that. So bias is to the downside for Euro Swiss franc. Pound Swiss franc, very similar type of thing here. We did have a big move to the upside based on Bank of England rate announcement or the monetary policy statement. And now we have a huge pin bar. And this one, so the bias is still to the downside. We haven't cleared the bottom here. So I would be a little bit cautious about that. So the bias is still to the downside. And in terms of the pullback, we could see a pullback all the way into 1.3100 there, and then a drop from there. So the bias is to the downside and looking for this type of a move. Target would be 1.2980. And if that gets broken, then we are looking for 1.2900. So those will be the two targets to the downside. So if you take a look at the 1 hourly, we're basically looking for that. Maybe we just come into there because there's our resistance or support turning resistance, and we have a pivot point. So we have a confluence there, and we have support resistance basically all along this line. So it could just pull into that and drop, or it could go a little higher. So those will be the two options. I was just sort of mark those levels and watch how price reacts. So that's a big drop here. So we could see a continuation move to the downside there. Dollar Swiss franc, again, a very big drop to the downside. We were looking at this level yesterday, and we were talking about how we are into this previous support turned resistance, and we could see a drop from there. So we did. That's a bearish candle close, looking for price to drop. In terms of pullbacks, we could get a pullback into that level, 0.9400 level, and then a drop from there. So something like that, and a move to the downside. So that's what I would be looking for. And the target would be 0.9300. So looking for price to push up right into this level here and then drop from that. So bias is to the downside. Pound yen here, same story, huge move to the upside and then quite a drop. So now I'm looking for price to move lower here. So looking for a pullback into this level, so which we have already got. And now looking, so the target here would be 150.20 level. So if you take a look at the 1 hour, see it pulled into pivot point. And so now looking for a drop here. So the bias is to the downside. So this was a nice move. This was the move that actually I happened to catch because this was right into this previous support resistance area, and then price closed down like that. And I managed to take it all the way down into this level. So that was a nice drop, unexpected for sure. I was not looking for that, especially after the move up. I was actually looking for a pullback into this level and then another move to the upside, just based on bullishness in the British pound. But you know, here we are. We have to do or trade what the market gives us. So based on this, that's a big pin bar. So looking for a drop into a 150.20 level, bottom of this pin here. That will be the biases to the downside for pound yen. Euro yen here, same thing. We did see euro yen wasn't as strong though, because the euro overall wasn't that strong. We did see the euro move up, and a lot of it was just because of British pound. Pound went up quite a bit, and euro kind of tends to align with that. So overall though, it wasn't that. So we were bearish on it, and it did come down. So now I'm looking for it to drop. It could go into this 134 level before it drops, but the bias is to the downside. I would be mindful of this support level here though. We did have a solid candle close, but still we are into support. So keep an eye on that. We do want to see a clear break of that for a continuation, because sometimes it can just get stuck at the support level. And if it looks like it's not looking to break it, it could start pushing back up. So I'd be careful with that one. But the bias is to the downside. 132 would be the level to the downside. So this is where we are, right into pivot point. Looks like it's reacting to the pivot point. It could go higher though. It could go into this level here, 134, and then drop from there. Or it could just drop right from here, which is the previous level that it reacted at. Those will be the pullback levels, but this is a good pullback level right into this 134. and then looking for a drop. So biases to the downside. Aussie yen, very solid close to the downside. And now we are into our support. So this one, we were looking for price to come hit this level yesterday. And now here we are. Now what, right? So this is the question. So that's a solid support. And if RBA does, if they do raise, no, they won't raise rates, but if their commentary is hawkish, this could get pushed up. But based on the technicals, just purely technicals, we're looking for the next level, 83.80 level to the downside. But first, we have to get past the support because it could just do this. So it could start going sideways over here and then finally push up. So that's something to be mindful of. Just like this, we came into support and then it could push up. So just keep an eye on that. Dollar yen, this is exactly what I was talking about for here. We could start doing this. So right now we are into this support level. We haven't been able to break the support. Daily bias is to the downside. So now we have to see if we can finally break the support. Bias is definitely to the downside. So I'm looking for price to move lower. And in terms of a pullback, we are at a good pullback level here. It could go slightly higher into 109.20. But this is a good pullback level if we look right over here. We do have that support resistance playing out. So bias is to the downside. First target would be 108.40 level or even 108.20 level right into the bottom here, this pin and this pin. And then once we see a break, then we can look at 107.30 level here. So from 1 hour perspective, it pushed up right into that pivot point as well, which coincides with our support resistance level. So now it looks like it wants to move lower, and our target would be 108.20 level, which is also our S1 level. So this is looking like a good pivot point trade there. So off of the pivot point right into S1. So bias is to the downside for dollar yen. All right, so let's do CAD yen as well. CAD yen, very solid candle close to the downside. We finally broke through the bottom here. So bias is to the downside for this. And next target here would be 85.50. So that will be the target to the downside. Again, it went right into the pivot point. Now it seems to be reacting, and it looks like the yen crosses want to drop. So even this one, well, pound is probably not the best one because it is a little risky right now. But like euro yen looks like it does want to drop here. So if you go into like 5-minute chart, that's a nice evening star setup on a pivot, and looks like it wants to drop. So 133.00 here will be the first target, and then our further targets to the downside, which are 132. So it does have room to go all the way to 132. I'm not going to call a trade tonight, even though this looks like looks like there are some opportunities in the yen, because actually I'm traveling tonight, so I won't be able to monitor any of the trades or do anything about them. And also for the trade room, I completely forgot I had to fly out today. I'll be back on Monday though. So we won't have the trade room tomorrow. I will try to post the trade log for this week. And I do need to do a review. So I need to figure out how I'm going to do a review for the Turning Pro Challenge. So I need to sort of think about that, see if there's an opportunity to maybe record something. But I'll try to get at least get the trade log for our trade room posted over the weekend. So I started the trading challenge, actually did well this week, and hit the target. So, but then I kind of exceeded the target, and part of it was just the yen trades that I took today. So those sort of put it, let me see, those hopped quite a bit. So the account is at 4,500 we started off at 3,500. I'm at 4,500, but a lot of it, I was at 3,800 this morning, and so right on target. But it was those yen trades I did take. I took euro yen, pound yen, dollar yen, all three yen crosses. I traded them down, and I caught this nice big move to the downside. Don't mind the charts; they are just whatever standard charts that come with the platform, so I don't bother. But I caught the euro yen and had a nice run to the downside. Like I caught a bit of the move here. Actually, may even have been from the top right into probably into this area before it pulled back. Then I just shut down. So this is where the account growth came from. But I was at about 3,800, which was the target for the week. So that target did get was met. So that's kind of where it stands. So there's a bit of extra money that came out today. But overall, we did meet our targets for the week. And so I will try to do a trade log for our trade room trades that we did. I need to post that. And then we'll pick it up again on next week on Tuesday back. So I'm not trading anything. That's it. I'm not trading anything because I'm flying out tonight, actually at 11 o'clock or something. So I'm not doing any more trading. That's it. And that's why I can't call the trade, because I won't actually be able to manage the trades. But those yen crosses do look nice, but we'll have to monitor them because things can change quite quickly. So we'll have to just keep an eye on those. But I do like some of these moves here. Any other questions before we wrap it up? All right, so that's it. So we'll call it a wrap. You guys have a wonderful evening. If I'm not able to come in the chat room tomorrow, I will post something on the weekend, but we will have our weekly market analysis call as usual. I will definitely hold that one, and then we will take it from there. So I'll be back on Monday. Everything will be back to normal. We'll have our market analysis call in the evening, so everything will be good. Just tonight and tomorrow morning, I'm sort of in between. So that's why I may not be able to do the trade session. Webinar tomorrow morning. Okay, perfect. So we'll call it a wrap. You guys have a wonderful evening, and I will see you later. Bye for now.